Britain has not seen coronation celebrations since Elizabeth II ascended the throne in 1953. And now, 70 years later, her son Charles II will be crowned on May 6. The ceremony will be held in the traditional style, though not without modern innovations. But, as with any major event, it is not without scandal. And a priori scandalous topic in the run-up to the coronation was the participation or non-participation in the celebrations of the prodigal couple of the British monarchy, the Dukes of Sussex. The long-drawn-out affair was resolved when Buckingham Palace announced that Prince Harry would attend the ceremony, while his wife Meghan would remain in California with their children. Already in this separation during the most significant event in the life of the current sovereign of the United Kingdom, an overtly scandalous undertone peeks through. We don't know. Sky News royal correspondent Laura Bundock speculates about the Duke of Sussex participation in the coronation, whether a seat will be made available for him in the carriage procession, or even whether he will now be offered a seat on the balcony. Harry made it clear in his biography and subsequent interviews that we have a lot to discuss before he decides whether to come. He said he wanted to sit at the table with his family and that the ball was in their court. Whether those conversations took place is unknown, but something convinced Harry to come. Meghan's decision not to come, on the other hand, is much more subtle. We haven't seen her in the UK since the Queen's funeral. Her absence will certainly make it look as though the crack between her and the royal family is far from overgrown. In fact, there is no hint of any rapprochement between Harry and high-ranking members of the royal family. Either way, it will be welcome news for the king, and he will be happy for both his sons to see his coronation moment. And if tabloid The Sun sources are to be believed, Harry had a heart-to-heart talk with his royal father before agreeing to come to the coronation from sunny Montecito. Insiders assure that a willingness and desire to mend relations on both sides emerged between them, even despite the prince's explosive revelations in his memoir Spare. But it is doubtful that the Duke of Sussex's stay at the coronation will go off without a hitch. Even with the best of luck, the palace is unlikely to want Harry to drag in the media and other public attention. Although the Prince and Meghan's good behavior at both the Platinum Jubilee and Queen Elizabeth II's funeral was taken into account when inviting them, although even then there were concerns that they would try to draw attention to themselves. As royal expert and senior lecturer in history at Manchester University Doug Jonathan Spangler noted in comments to Express.co.uk, the arrival of Charles II's youngest son is likely to mean not only heightened security measures, but also 2 levels of paparazzi who will be interested in capturing the prince at the event. There is one level of paparazzi who are interested in covering the royal celebration, but there's also the next level of paparazzi who are interested in the story, in the scandal. To make matters worse, the prince's security remains in limbo. There has been no security plan agreed. Harry is suing the British Home Office, claiming it was illegal to deprive him of 24-hour armed police protection while he was in the UK. Andrew will be forced to dress in civilian clothes. If Prince Harry is the British royal family's prodigal son, who, if he repents of his rebelliousness, can be forgiven and even pampered, his uncle and the monarch's younger brother Prince Andrew would rather be labelled a black sheep. The member of the ruling family was involved in a sexual abuse scandal, and even against a minor, which the prince has always denied. And now the press is abuzz. Will King Charles allow his brother, the Duke of York, to wear the regalia to the coronation or not? The Daily Mirror reports that the Duke of York is furious that he is being kept in the dark about a decision whether he might wear the magnificent velvet gown and gleaming insignia that mark his status as a Knight of the Order of the Garter. Prince Andrew has been forced to step down from his royal duties because of a sex scandal. Last year he paid out of court £12 million to his accuser Virginia Giuffre, and was subsequently banned from appearing alongside Elizabeth II at her last appearance at the traditional Garter Day procession at Windsor. Meanwhile, on Coronation Day, May 6, members of the Order of the Garter, the oldest and most senior chivalric order in Britain, may wear regalia and chains symbolizing the British orders of chivalry. What's more, Prince Andrew now faces orders to wear a civilian jacket after being stripped of his military rank of Colonel of the Guards Grenadiers, although he remains a Vice Admiral because of his past service in the Royal Navy. Andrew is furious, royal insiders assure. He no longer has any role and now feels disrespected and dictated what to wear. Pop stars are concerned about PR. Several of Britain's best-known pop singers have turned down the chance to perform at the coronation of Charles III. While attending the Royal Gala in 1997, singer Geri Halliwell kissed Prince Charles on the cheek, Rolling Stone magazine recalls. According to royal protocol and etiquette, only shaking hands with members of the royal family is allowed, so the scandalous moment made headlines and made pop culture history. The Spice Girls have now avoided it altogether. The group were among a number of pop stars who turned down the opportunity to perform at the May 6 coronation. Adele, Harry Styles, Robbie Williams and Elton John were also reportedly offered to play, but declined the offer. The teams of all these artists refrained from commenting, with the exception of Elton John, who confirmed that he had been invited but could not perform due to scheduling issues. Musicians used to practically line up in front of the palace to perform at any major royal event, but that has now changed. The press has linked this to various scandals in the royal family, including Prince Andrew's relationship with notorious financier Jeffrey Epstein and allegations of sexual abuse against the king's brother. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have also found themselves embroiled in controversy over their allegations against the royal family and the British press. According to renowned British PR expert Simon Jones, the royal family has faced a number of PR disasters recently, and anyone appearing on the show will have to consider whether it will cause a negative reaction among their fans. Another PR expert, Kingsley Hall, explained that people are tired of the negative coverage of the royal family, including accusations of racism and sexual abuse. And it is likely that some stars will not be attending the coronation celebrations for this reason. As the media noted, for many artists, refusing to attend the event was a ridiculously easy decision, as their Millennial and Generation Z fans are quite alien to the very idea of the monarchy. And if the late Elizabeth I was still perceived by the advanced public as the grandmother of the nation, Charles II is clearly not a grandfather of all Britain. Representatives of British PR firms specializing in pop music also point out that spending on the coronation at a time when the cost of living crisis in Britain has reached a dangerous peak looks like a political statement. So it's no surprise that the once highly prized honor of performing at the biggest royal event has turned into a potential PR nightmare. It seems that in 2023 the royal family needs musicians more than musicians need musicians themselves, states Rolling Stone. It would, however, be a mistake to claim that all stars have suddenly given up performing at coronation events. Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and the Italian opera star Andrea Bocelli have all agreed to play in the coronation concert on 7 May. Take That are also among the announced performers. Welsh bass baritone Sir Bryn Terfel, singer Freya Ridings and classical composer Alexis French are also expected. Instead of Biden, it was the wife. An element of scandal has also been revealed in the announcement by an unnamed source in the US administration that the US president will probably not attend the coronation of Charles III. According to information leaked to the press, Biden may send his wife to London instead. Apparently to sweeten the pill for allies, the White House released a message in early April. The president has congratulated the king on his upcoming coronation and informed him that First Lady Jill Biden looks forward to attending on behalf of the United States. Actually, traditionally, no American president has attended coronation celebrations in Britain. After all, the founding fathers of the United States wrested independence from the British crown with arms in their hands. For example, 70 years ago, Dwight D. Eisenhower did not go to Britain to attend the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II in 1953, but sent a delegation of his representatives not of the highest order. So Biden did nothing out of the ordinary. But his absence was interpreted by some of the more zealous British monarchists as a spit in the direction of Albion, who were quick to recall the American president's tale of his Irish mother's hatred of the London monarchy. In his memoirs, Biden claimed that his mother once refused to sleep in the bed the Queen once slept in. GB News host Mark Dolan reacted angrily. Britain, America's closest ally, an economic, military and diplomatic partner on the world stage, would not be honored by the presence of a man so weak-minded that he makes the cast of the sitcom Last of the Summer whine, a popular comedy series filmed since the early 1970s. MK, look positively chipper. Dolan called the United States president's likely absence from the coronation event an extraordinary diplomatic insult to the United Kingdom. British Tory MP Bob Seeley isn't far behind the host. If I were President of the United States, I would come to the coronation of the King of England. There are no two ways about it. It just seems like a stupid decision. Whether or not Biden loves the British is a separate question, but it is telling that he himself and the First Lady went to London last September to attend the funeral of the late Queen Elizabeth II. Let the King apologize. And finally, in the run-up to the coronation, left liberal adherents of political correctness and culture of awakening added their spoonful of tar to the honeycomb of celebration. Former BBC journalist Laura Trevelyan called on King Charles, and by extension the British government, to apologise for historic links with the slave trade. In February, Trevelyan travelled to Grenada and read out a formal apology on behalf of her family to the islanders, the descendants of slaves, and announced a £100,000 education fund from her own savings. The fact is that her ancestors owned at least 1,000 slaves on this Caribbean island in past centuries. But her own remorse was not enough for the conscientious descendant of the slave-trading family, and now Trevelyan decided to persuade Charles II. She told The Times, "We have apologized. Why can't the king? Payback is coming." Earlier in April, King Charles announced that he would cooperate with research into the British monarchy's historical links to transatlantic slavery after a document emerged confirming that one of his predecessors on the throne had a stake in a slave trading company. The Guardian newspaper published a previously unknown document showing a £1,000 transfer of shares in the Royal African Slave Trading Company to King William I in 1689. It's about time Charles II was in the role of the king in an ordinary miracle. Not my fault. The ancestors are to blame. Great-grandparents, great-grandparents, great-uncles and aunts, great-great-grandmothers. They behaved like the last pigs in life, and now I have to deal with their past.